I remember this time, I don't know, it was not that long ago, maybe, I don't know, sometime like in the mid-90s, late 90s. And I was down in New Mexico, and it was a really kind of just a tumultuous, transitional time of my life. I was just really struggling with a number of things. I was actually in Santa Fe at the time, and one day I went into this church. It was old, like adobe old church. It was towards the end of the day, and I remember I just went in there kind of wanting to be alone and not specifically thinking about House of God or anything like that. I just went into this church. And I was sitting there for a while. I think I was the only person there. I was just spending time with myself and sort of pondering and just struggling. And I sat there for a pretty long time, and it was interesting because it seemed like it could have been like an historic landmark kind of old church. It was simple and basic, but it was really old. And I remember at one point hearing a noise, and I looked up and there was, I don't know if it was what you call him, a priest, something like that. And we had this moment. It was unspoken. He didn't, it wasn't like he said anything to me at first, but he just looked at me and he said, "I'm leaving. Close the door when you leave." And there was something in that moment that was really, kind of respectful and generous on his part of like trusting me to be in there by myself and kind of recognizing that I really needed to be there by myself at the moment. And he left. And I don't really know how much longer I stayed, but at one point, and I'm not a particularly religious person, but at one point I was just sitting there and I was just stuck on these things that were going on with me. And at one point I heard a voice, and I heard this voice as clearly as anybody's ever spoken to me. And what the voice said was, "Gary, I know what you're going through right now. And I gotta tell you," this may not be a direct quote, by the way, but this is how I remember it. "Given the choices you've made, given who you are, given what your destiny is, you're going to have to suffer. You're going to suffer. But I want you to remember that I gave you a sense of humor." And it was just the hugest release. I don't know if I laughed or cried, but it made it seem to me that, these things were difficult, but that I did feel, as a non-religious person, appreciative and something like blessed for an innate sense that, call it a sense of humor, call it what you will, that I had been given a kind of gift that was going to see me through what I needed to go through.